Okay, want to show you guys the wine peg end piece that I'm making for my IKEA hack kitchen island. So this is a traditional shaker style door. I've got my two rails and my two stiles. It'll end up looking very similar to all the other shaker style doors that I have. Only difference on this one is the rail on the top is a little bit wider, and that's to fit an outlet that's gonna go up here. So there's gonna be an outlet on the top. Now I've got this turned around so I can show you what's cool about it. Instead of using a traditional panel, I've routed this out and it's gonna fit this hue light strip. So you can see all inside here, I have this hue light strip, and there's the little LEDs. And it's gonna shine onto an acrylic panel. There's actually two acrylic panels. And it's gonna provide light to those panels, and it's gonna light up the back of these wine peg panels. Now, I attach that using this stuff. If you ever need to tape anything professionally, 3M VHB tape. This stuff is amazing. So this is like the best double-sided tape. So this little pigtail will attach to the power unit. What I like about the Hue units is they do a really nice job with their app. It's a very stable, well-designed user interface. It'll turn on in the evening, ramp up, operate all evening, and then turn off at night, and then come on in the morning or whatever you want. And you can get any color out of this. So whatever color it makes you happy, you can adjust all the lights to do that. So let's look at the piece that's gonna go on the inside here. So these are the acrylic pieces. I've got a thinner, solid white piece that when that panel is gonna be painted, this is gonna look really close to the HVLP paint job that I'm gonna have. Maybe a little shinier, but it'll be in the right tone. And then there's a clear piece that, as you can see, is totally clear. The reason I used a clear piece is this is a little cut off of one of the IKEA or one of the Philips Hue light strips. When those LEDs are in there, they'll shine light through that clear, and that will help the light travel over the whole width of the panel. And then what I'll end up doing is I'll come in and I'll sand with this 220 sandpaper. I'll sand the clear, and as that light travels through, it's gonna refract and it's gonna hit that sanded, frosted face, and it's gonna cause the whole panel to kind of make a nice warm glow. Now I went ahead, I was worried about heat, so I went ahead and mine are actually covered in a little rubber that goes around them, a little plastic piece. This is not quite what they look like, but I went ahead and put this together. I ran it for like a day, like 24 hours straight. I just tested it every once in a while, saw whether it was getting warm. It was not, but again, that was my experience, so I feel like it's safe for me. Obviously, do your own research. Use what you feel is safe for you and your family. So let's talk about the wine pegs. Originally, we had a wine fridge that we were going to put on the end. It was an 18-inch wine fridge that we got off Amazon. I wasn't really happy with it because two things. One, it didn't keep the temperature at all, what it said it was doing. And the second thing I didn't like was it really was kind of hard to tell what's going on in there. So I did a little research, and originally we were going to go with a wine rack. And in a traditional wine rack, this is what you see of the bottles, either this side or this side. There's usually a bunch of slots. You put these in there, and that's it. But if you look at these wine bottles, I mean, nowadays they're spectacular. They have this beautiful art on the outside of a lot of these. You really want to kind of see it and enjoy it, right? So what's nice about wine pegs is the way it works is you have these two pieces. One is for the body. It's got a little bit wider flange. And I like these because they actually use a little O-ring so that when you have it on the wine, only the O-ring's touching, and that plastic sounds a lot better than the metal up against it. And then there's a smaller one for the neck. And it allows you to put your wine bottle facing out so you can see the label. And so when you go to get a bottle of wine, you know exactly which one you're getting. I think there's a misconception that a lot of people think that you need to like store wine long term at a certain temperature. You know, that's cellaring wine. That's like if you're going to be storing it and aging wine and all that kind of stuff. In reality, we buy wine, we drink it pretty soon, you know, within a couple weeks, and that's it. So we're not cellaring wine. We don't really need that kind of capability. We just need a nice place to hold 12 bottles of wine and be able to easily get to them. So the design here is going to hold 6 on one side, and then we're going to reverse the direction and hold 6 on the other side. Now, one thing I recommend is when you're working with your acrylic, leave the paper on until you're completely done with all the manufacturing and all the tool work, because you don't really want to scratch the panel. Plus, it gives you a nice template to draw the marks. So what I'm using is these pegs are going to be 105 millimeters between one bottle and the next as you go up. And then the neck piece to the body piece is 8.5 inches. And then it rises up 3/4 of an inch because a bottle of wine rises up a little higher for the neck than the body. So that'll make it pretty standard going all the way up. Leave your paper on till you get done. Then I usually take the paper off, and then 17 or 18 seconds later, somebody scratches what I just worked on, which is okay because the universe abhors when things are perfect for too long. So this is the actual dimensions that they used. I'll just show you real quick. But yeah, I kind of modified mine. I went to 105 millimeters. So these are the wine pegs themselves. They're gorgeous. These are made in Canada, and that's the brand and the model. I won't try to pronounce it, but these are made in Canada. Basically, they have a little threaded piece on the back, and then this little bolt would go in through my IKEA melamine piece, through those 2 pieces of acrylic, and then it would screw in there, and there's a little lock washer to help keep pressure on it. One minor issue I had is the thickness of this ends up being pretty tight with the acrylic that I bought. So I am gonna have to recess that into my IKEA melamine foil. So this is just a scrap piece that I was testing on, and I'm gonna end up recessing that down in there. I'm gonna use a 5/8 inch drill bit after I drill the hole and kind of gouge it out so I can recess these in a little bit. That'll also make it a little easier with all the other pieces of the IKEA cabinet that I don't want these little guys getting in the way, so I can't put pieces back in. Finally, I'm going to be using this drill bit. This is a special drill bit for drilling through acrylics. You really want to use this kind of a drill bit as opposed to just a traditional drill bit, because this has a different point and it'll do a nicer job of drilling through without ripping up all the plastics. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this together. One last thing I'll say, I love working with the IKEA cabinet because normally you'd have a face frame here, and I could remove all that. So I took this whole thing apart, not very long. I can easily put it back together. In fact, I could actually take this entire panel off and drill straight down, but I don't think I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna keep it in position, and I'm just gonna drill it while it's facing up like that. But I do like that on the IKEA cabinets. You can kind of just take it apart and work on it. So let me work on it, and I'll do a little reveal after we're all done. Thanks. All right, just finished up the electrical, and I'm pretty much all done, just cleaning up. But before I close up the cabinet and put all the shelves back in, I thought it was a good opportunity to kind of show you what it looks like. So this is the traditional shaker style door that IKEA sells called Torham. And then this is my wine shaker door with a acrylic panel with wine pegs. Now it's a lot brighter than I normally would have it. I'd probably have it a little more mellow, and you can change the color, and I'd probably go a little bit more like a warmer color. But I figure, it looks pretty cool. So I wanted to show you how these wine pegs go together. So let me move these guys over real quick, and I'll show you how they work. So the wine pegs go into the acrylic. The lighting is lighting up the acrylic, obviously, making it kind of look like it glows. Then it goes through 2 pieces of acrylic that are sandwiched together. Then it goes through the 3/4 inch IKEA melamine. And then right there is the bolt on the other side. So you tighten down the bolt and it squishes all that together. And it is super, super strong. I mean, I wouldn't stand on it, but it definitely would hold a whole lot of wine, no problem. So that's kind of what it looks like. One thing I will say, I was super careful to line those up. So let's look here. So there's all the pegs. And I was very, very careful to kind of get those all to line up and look like they're all in line and they're all the right height. When you're doing something like this where it's repetitive, it's super easy for people to notice when there's a mistake. So I tried to be very methodical and careful and do good work so that it looks nice. So also on the end of the island, I put this outlet in here. So our island is going to have a waterfall countertop on the other side. That's a countertop that starts with the floor, comes up, and then it's going to come across, and then it's going to overhang this a little bit. So the countertop will actually overhang here. And then this will be exposed on the end. And one thing I really wanted, just practicality, is a nice 20 amp outlet. So I have this nice 20 amp outlet right here. The other thing we needed was a little bit of iPhone slash power charging. And I found this on Amazon. I don't get anything from this. If you guys want to buy it, go ahead. If you don't, I don't care. But I thought it worked pretty well because it's a retractable charging cable. So you could charge your phone here on the countertop. It's got the little dongle for iPhone that I bought separately, and then it's normally micro USB. And then you push a little button and it retracts up. And like I said, when the countertop is overhung, it'll look really nice. It'll give you a good way to charge stuff without having to make it look kind of junky and have wires going everywhere. Let's see. I want to tell you kind of how much this cost. So originally we're going to put a wine fridge here. And like I said, we got it and I wasn't super impressed with it. And I think that thing cost like 400, 500 bucks. So I figured I could make something that looked better for about the same amount of money. I did spend some money on these wine pegs. These are a little more expensive than, like, you can get some cheaper Chinese made ones, but these Canadian made ones are just really well machined. And one thing I really like on these is they have a little O-ring. So you can see this little groove. The O-ring goes over top of it, pops in there. And then when you take a bottle of wine like this and you set it on there, it doesn't clank against the metal because it's sitting on these O-rings. In fact, you can hear it kind of squeak from the O-rings. I really like that. Like that's the kind of thing that I noticed that makes you think, wow, that was well made. So I think I paid like 300 bucks, maybe a little more, 350, 330 for all these wine pegs, which is a lot of money. But, you know, things like hardware, you really can't fake, you know. You can tell when the hardware is cheap. So I totally own that it's expensive, but it was worth that. And then the acrylic panel, my buddy hooked me up at a plastic store. I built some aquarium stuff, so I know him really well. It gave me a deal. So it was $70 for the 2 pieces of acrylic. And then I bought the hard maple for about 30 bucks, I think, 25 bucks for the piece of hard maple, and then a little bit for the electrical stuff. But yeah, I think I'm probably, I don't know, 400 bucks, something like that. Probably a little cheaper actually than the wine fridge was. And I'm not paying for electricity to run a wine fridge. One thing I will say, I like seeing the art on the side of the bottles. I think that looks cool. People put a lot of energy into like the art on these bottles now. And I kind of like being able to see it, and you can angle it up a little bit so you can see it as you walk by. I think that looks really cool. The whole idea of a wine fridge kind of weirds me out because you're not really, I don't think you're storing wine to like age it. I think the whole point of a wine fridge is kind of like, hey, look, I have a wine fridge. But in all honesty, most bottles of wine, you know, you bring them home and you drink them. So, you know, I think this kind of works better for us. So, so that's what we're doing. And I wanted to show you what we're going to do next here. So this is the IKEA shaker door, and this is the one I made. So looks pretty close, I think. Got the nice bevel here. But then as I go around, I had to put in this bracket to hold the countertop that's going to be in here eventually. And you can see that now drops down. So I'm going to end up bringing these panels. I'm going to cut a little material out of here, raise these panels up. I'm going to put in a toe kick. And then this is just temporary plywood, but we're going to go ahead and mock up what the waterfall would look like, which helps a lot when you get the countertop guys in, because if you have it mocked up, they kind of can look at it and go, okay, I know what you want. Let me measure and try to make it look like this, but out of stone. So we're going to do all that, and then we'll call the island complete. And I might do a little video at the end showing the finished island later. And then pretty much we're ready for paint. So we'll start hitting it with paint. So hopefully that helps show someone kind of how it works. I wouldn't normally have it this bright. Obviously, we'd probably tone it down, and you can change the color. I'd show you the color changing, but it's on the iPhone that I'm filming this, so I can't do that. And then the other nice thing is you can ramp the light up in the afternoon. Like as it gets dark, it can slowly come up and get brighter. And then at night it can turn off. You know, there's a million things you can do with these kind of lights. It's all Wi-Fi based. So anyhow, hope that helps somebody if you want to make an IKEA wine peg island hack. And good luck.